What are the different types of debts? This is consumer protection attorney Bill Clanton. I've helped hundreds of consumers deal with debt collection harassment, inaccurate credit reporting, and other consumer-related matters. In this video, I'll be answering the question, what are the different types of debts? Well, this is a good question, as there are a broad range of debts. Everything from cars to payday loans to all kinds of things in between. Now, the most common, well, I don't know if it's the most common, credit card debt is surely the most common, but the most collectible type of debts are secured debts. Secured debt is a debt that is secured by what's called a security instrument, and it's basically a debt that is tied to a piece of collateral. In other words, a mortgage note is tied through a deed of trust to a house, or a car note is tied to a car. So if you don't make payments on your mortgage or on your car note, then the bank can come and foreclose on your house or repossess your car. They have something they can take in the case of non-payment. Now, there are a number of types of secured debts. People buy all kinds of things with security instruments or payment plans, boats, houses, cars, and other things. The next type of debt is unsecured debt. Unsecured debt is credit card debt, medical bills, debts owed to apartment complexes when you move out, things like that. Now, when it comes to credit cards, these types of debts are issued based on your credit score. If you've got a low credit score, you may not qualify for a credit card, or you may qualify for a credit card with a lower limit than somebody who has a higher credit score. So, and that's because the credit card issuers rely on your FICO score, your Fair Isaac Credit Company score, in issuing you a credit card and determining the amount of credit they extend to you. And that's important because that is granted on what they perceive as your ability to repay that credit card. Now, if you have a good payment history, your credit score will go up. If you have a bad payment history, your credit score will go down. Credit cards, again, are tied to your credit score. And when these debts are sold by credit card companies or the banks to debt collectors, they are sold based on your credit score. So a debt buyer will pay more for a charged off debt from someone who has a higher credit score than someone who has a lower credit score, because they know it's likely more collectible. So they'll pay maybe 6 or 7 cents versus 4 or 5 cents for that debt, on the dollar for that debt. Another type of debt is medical debt. A medical debt is a consumer debt, and it's not necessarily granted on your ability to repay it. A hospital won't turn you down if you show up at the emergency room. A lab who runs tests on you won't determine your credit worthiness before they run a test. These things will be charged and you'll have to pay them, and they are consumer type debts. Apartment debts, I mentioned those earlier. If you lease a house or an apartment and you move out, oftentimes the landlord will say that you broke the lease and you're responsible for payments, or that you are you damaged the apartment and you owe them to repair the apartment. There is a lot of contention in these debts. Tenants, consumers, will disagree. They believe they are owed their security deposit. Landlords will try to get as much money as they can to try to fix up an apartment that's been moved out of. The folks at the front desk aren't the ones who make these decisions. They will represent one thing to you, and the management in the back office will make another decision. So these debts can be very contentious, a lot of disagreement about them. And then when a third-party debt collector takes over, it can intensify the level of disagreement. These are not desirable debts for debt collectors to take over. But there's a number of debt collection agencies that specialize in this type of debt. And there are a lot of problems with these debts. Moving down the list of debts is payday loan debts. Payday loan debts are the folks who apply for payday loans typically have lower credit scores and are not able to get credit cards or get credit granted by a credit card issuer. So they have to go to payday lenders and or title lenders. And these folks operate under a very specialized law in the state of Texas and in most other states. And they can charge incredible interest rates. I've seen a 700% interest rate, an APR of over 700% in one of these payday loans. It's insane, the level of corruption and fraud that goes on with these folks. And so, but they follow the law to the letter. And when they sell these debts, they sell it to, there's a few people who buy these debts, a few organizations that buy these debts, and they send them out to debt collectors who are very aggressive and very hard to find. The payday loan collectors do not follow the law. They call and threaten arrest. They call and say they're coming out with the sheriff. They make insane threats and terrify people. So if you're dealing with a payday loan collector, it's tough, but there are a couple ways to track these folks down. Now, is there a debt you're dealing with that I missed? Let me know in the comments. These are what I consider the broad category of debts. There are others, and I'd be happy to talk to you if you want to know more about a specialized type of debt, or if there's something you feel like I missed. If you have any questions, give us a call. I'd be happy to talk to you about your situation and find out whether or not I can help you out. Thanks for watching this video.